Tasha Keeney from ARK Invest was interviewed on their own Brainstorm podcast, and she talked about their deep dive research on Tesla Robotaxis and stock price target. Today, we'll review some of the key nuggets she shared, including the Robotaxi economic model, where she's estimating a recurring $100,000 of revenue for each vehicle. For those who think regulation will never happen, she explains where she believes will be the first location that's ready to go. They also discuss when they think Tesla's Robotaxi program will start, and they're in the middle of updating their $2,000 stock price target. I got Larry Goldberg joining us, and he and I have talked about ARK Invest quite a number of times. He's a supporter of theirs, specifically about their research. So this is Tasha explaining some of that research, and we'll review it. Thank you so much, Larry.
Thank you for having me, Herbert.
Let's take a look at what she says and watch some of her clips. So there's a podcast hosted by Sam Corris. He is interviewing Tasha, and she brings him on talking about robotaxis. So let's listen in on one of the key clips that we clicked out.
So assuming that a Model 3 today cost about $40,000, Tesla's getting single-digit thousands in operating profit off of that vehicle from a one-time sale. In a robotaxi network, you get a meaningful recurring revenue stream. So that same Model 3, let's say it's going 100,000 miles per year. It's charging customers just $1 per mile. That's a lot cheaper than Uber and Lyft, thanks to a much higher utilization rate on an autonomous taxi. And then you're getting $100,000 in recurring revenue off of that car versus just, the initial $40,000 sale. We also think that this model could actually have more attractive margins, as I said. So, we're talking double-digit thousands in operating profit per car per year. Versus that one time again.
Wow, $100,000 per car per year. That's their economic model. And they've done deep dive research, so it's hard to say that they might be wrong, but there could be something wrong with their assumptions.
I think they're very close. I think they're very close, even if they're not. I mean,
that's a lot.
So Uber earns about 140,000 gross per vehicle, is my understanding. So calculating it at 100,000, I think they're being quite modest. In theory, a car that is completely autonomous should be able to do more miles than a car that has a driver. A driver has to have lunch, he has to have a rest, whatever. But an autonomous car could theoretically be available, 24/7. Of course, there are peak hours and there are very slack hours, but nonetheless, it seems to me that 100,000 is a very modest number. And the margins should be very significant, because if you look at the margins of Uber, the bulk of the cost at an Uber, a very significant portion of the cost is the driver. That's where the money goes in Uber. So without a driver, and you're estimating at a lower cost per mile, I think your margins are going to be extremely healthy.
Yeah. Larry, you've been following them. You've read their research quite closely, right? So, they came out with this many years ago, and then people thought, this is crazy. It's never going to happen. And then now people are now opening it up, and what did they say exactly? Because it sounds like it might actually be happening soon. What's your thoughts about their research, and how accurate do you think they are?
They've been remarkably accurate on Tesla. There are two aspects of the accuracy. There's one particular aspect of the accuracy, and that is the cost of manufacture. Sam Corris actually proposed, using Wright's law, which is this notion that a new product reduces in cost by a constant proportion every time it doubles its total production. And that constant proportion ARK proposed for the EV was about 20% for every doubling. And so far, they've been pretty darn close. And that was somewhat modified by the pandemic, because the whole supply line, came to a halt and there was an interruption of production. But nonetheless, they've been pretty darn accurate. And the other area they've been accurate was the stock price. They went some years ago, 2018 or 2019, they talked about a $2,000 price target for the stock when it was the equivalent of $20 right now. And, that price was achieved. So they've been quite darn really good on Tesla. And time will tell. Tesla's stock price has come down quite a lot from the peak. But nonetheless, at the price that it's at right now, adjusted for splits, it actually hit their target. So their research is very, very good.
Yeah, the research is good. And when you hear something like that, when they first came out with that price target, people just said that was crazy. It was 10 to 20 times what it was at the time. And then it happened. And it took a long time. And just like now, people are saying, you guys have been talking about it. We'll review. They're actually reviewing their price target, which is $2,000 from current today, 180, 190 to 2,000 because of Robotaxi. And when I interviewed her, people who want to kind of dust it up again, go check out my interview with Tasha. She says she believes that Robotaxi is such the kind of model it is that it's going to be winner take most. And her reasoning is that, its volume matters and market share matters. And once you get out there, then you can have economies of scale. You'll have the most data to understand, just like Uber did. Uber basically is a winner takes most model. What's your comment on that? Why that's critical that Tesla not only go out this August 8th or, they'll announce it, right, sometime next year or two, but that they're faster to spread globally. What's your thoughts about winner take most model?
Well, I think it's going to be winner take most, but it could well be multiple winners in different markets. So right now, what came as a great shock to me was this acceptance by China of Tesla FSD, which appears to be a done deal. Now, if that's true, I had written off China as a market for Tesla robotaxis. I believed that the Chinese government wouldn't allow it. Well, more fool me. It looks like they're going to allow it. So we could have Tesla being a winner across multiple markets, including Europe, including China, and including the United States. Now, there's political action we have to consider. Whether Europe will implement some kind of political fiat on Tesla is an open question. China, it appears that they're in China and they're going to win, but from a technology point of view, they are so far ahead of the rest that absent these political issues, I think it's when Tesla takes most.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about regulatory. So this is like one of the biggest misunderstanding people have.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just going to be a hurdle that's going to take years and years and years. And I think what people don't understand is that there's already many states, many cities, many countries now that's authorizing it and welcoming this. And so actually I should thank Alex Voigt. I interviewed him recently as well, but he was the one that took these clips from Tasha Keeney's interview here. And she said, I think the biggest hurdle is solving full autonomy. That is by far the hardest step to cross. It's like solving full autonomy. That's the biggest hurdle, of course. If they wanted to, there are certain areas in the US like California where it works very well where they could launch. That's where it's going to begin. Let's listen to her.
I think the biggest hurdle really is solving for full autonomy. So I mean, making the car work in enough corner cases such that you can actually take a person out of the front seat. That is by far, the hardest step to cross. And Tesla hasn't gotten there yet. Although we are seeing pretty positive signs. I mean, a lot of the videos that are being posted online for the current versions of FSD show, nearly full drives, in some cases full drives, where the owner's not touching the wheel at all. So I think that if they wanted to, there's certain areas in the US like California where it works really well today, where they could launch. Then, a lot of people might say, well, regulatory hurdles those are a big deal. And not that regulation isn't something to think about. I think it is. It absolutely is. I actually think there's like a skew in how people view the regulation of autonomous cars because most of the activity has already happened in California or happened in California first. Because this state actually has more hurdles to pass than other states. So, and I'm talking like, okay, well, you get approval to launch a service, then you get approval to charge for a service. You might have to, we've seen Cruise and Waymo do some initial geographic area, then they need approval to expand. I don't think the process will work the same in every state, so I think it could be simpler. And we already do have quite a number of states that have either regulation that doesn't explicitly exclude autonomy or actually, favors it and has language that is friendly to autonomy. I believe it's about roughly half of states have that. So I actually don't think that regulation is as big of a deal as many make it out to be. I think it's really the technology.
Yeah. So I did a show, right? I don't know if I did it with you, where we showed that the vast majority of the United States, the states, actually by default allows you to not only launch, but also operate autonomous vehicles. And then there's 10 that actually created rules because they're welcoming it. They're actually asking for it. And so, when you're launching it, you're just going to start with these ones. So let me share this, which is Nick Gibbs sent this out. Nicholas Gibbs has his own YouTube channel called Investing Against the Grain. It says, for those who think regulators are the limiting factor to Tesla deploying autonomous vehicles, update your biological neural nets, because take a look at the Florida law for autonomous vehicles. When a state like Florida deploys it, other states will compete to not be left behind. Same thing with China. Your comment about China, right? So I'm not going to read this, but basically, the state passed the law that the operation is provided to take as long as they meet these criteria here, right? And then you can read the Grok article written about it. The law also addresses liability, insurance, and so forth. So it's the opposite of what people are thinking. That actually it's going to be a race. There's going to be a race. There's going to be so many states and cities going, we'll be the first, and they want to be first.
Herbert, we lived this with Uber. Uber was disallowed in so many jurisdictions without any questions. And boy, 3 years later, 5 years later, 7 years later, and here we are, 7 years later. And I mean, there's no doubt at all that this is what we're going to be living with. It'll happen with autonomy as well. There will be jurisdictions where it's going to be disallowed. There will be jurisdictions where there's going to be court cases. There are going to be, some political battles. The fact that Tesla is the leader is going to cause some political issues. And we'll talk about that later because, there's a lot of politics around the whole issue of Tesla. But all in all, I think you're absolutely right. I think we will see autonomous cars rolling out my guess is within the year. I just see the progress. I loaded 6.3 the other day. I mean, when I think about the progress, I drove across the country just like 3 months ago. And, we've moved like so many steps ahead of that. And in that particular drive, I don't think I drove more than, 10 minutes in, 36 hours of driving. So autonomy is with us. The only issue is, bringing it to the point of level of safety that we are absolutely certain it's going to do better than any human driver. And we're going to limit the amount of accident, limit the amount of injury and death on the road by doing this.
Yeah. My thought is that, if regulation was going to stop autonomy, they should have and could have done it, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when, autopilot in the highways, because the every day that goes by that, the regulators did not come in and just say enough. They are getting data and they're gathering it. So the more information, the more it spreads, the more information comes out, the more that they can show that it improves, then it becomes less and less likely that regulators will come in and say that you can't be doing this, because in fact, we're almost there. We're probably flipping now where they can actually show that it's already safer than a human.
Yeah, well, the real race is to get FSD to that point. And, Tasha's right. The roads are so much better marked and managed in California that FSD does better in California. As I've traveled across the states, it's clear to me that, where you have states where road quality or road marking quality is maintained better, you're going to get a better result. But, I in some of the backwoods of Texas, back roads of Texas, and boy, there are some back roads of Texas. FSD did great.
Still doing okay. Yeah. Okay, we got 2 more clips to watch of Tasha. So this one is her thoughts about China. So I think, the news is that Tesla might have gotten approval in China. This announces a big deal. China is very protective of their video data, their mapping data, and that matters. So let's take a look what she said here.
The news is that Tesla, might have gotten approval in China for full self-driving. So I guess to your point, last year, they didn't have that approval. So, full self-driving right now has really just been active in the US. It doesn't exist in Europe or other markets, including China. This announcement is a big deal because China is very protective of their video data, their mapping data. I think that's why we see Tesla partnering with a local mapping provider, although, of course, it just makes sense. They use Google Maps and other sources here, so why wouldn't they use a local source there? But as you know, Sam, and all the work that you've done on electric, like the auto market's something that really matters to China. So to let a foreign player come in on autonomy, I think is something that's, not to be looked over.
What's your thoughts on that, Larry? Because that is a big debate right now. People are saying that, they're going, do you not know that China has so many automakers that can already do Robotaxi? So there's no need for you. There's no need for them to. They're just doing this because, Baidu is the technology, because they do it too. They have their own version. Actually, Tesla is so far behind that they needed to partner with Baidu for not just the maps, but technology. And then, what is this a concern? Why would China allow Tesla to do this if they're trying to be protective?
For exactly the same reason that China allowed Tesla to own its own car factory and produce its own cars. Exactly the same reason. They know that Tesla is in the lead. They've done their homework. They know that Tesla is in the lead. They know that, these LiDAR-based multi-$100,000 vehicles are not going to hack it for autonomy, for full autonomy. They know that Tesla's in the lead, and they're doing this deal with Tesla for the same reason they brought Tesla to China in the first place, as the template, as the lead to drive autonomy in China. And this is the same story as 2018, all over again. That's my view.
Yeah, I love it. That's exactly correct. It just made me reflect a little bit of how crazy it was when Elon said everybody was so far ahead. There were so many companies so far ahead creating autonomous vehicles, right? Way ahead of us. And then Elon says, I think you don't need LiDAR. We're just going to go vision only. And people forget, but at that time, no one was doing this. And they were all going, even his own team was so upset, going, we need radar, we need LiDAR. And he said, no, it's a crutch. You need to solve, I think that at some point AI, right? Neural nets will be able to figure this out. And because of that decision, every single car that Tesla's ever sold has cameras, and they have the hardware 3, 2s, and 4s, that hardware 3s and 4s at least can all do this. Just prescient, brilliant. And now all the competitors don't have vision only. They have LiDAR and they're stuck and they have to figure out what to do. All right, let's talk about price target. So it looks like that ARK Invest is still in the process of redoing their price targets, but they're continue saying the $2,000. Sometimes I hear them say 2027. Sometimes I still hear them say 2030. I don't know where they're at with that now, but this is why do we think this is just a big deal? Well, the price target we're publishing for Tesla that we're currently updating now, $2,000 per share. In that analysis, we thought that roughly 2/3 of the enterprise value can be about Robotaxi. So let's listen to what she said.
To zoom out, like, why do we think that this is such a big deal? Well, the price target that we published for Tesla for 2027 that we're currently updating now, $2,000 per share. In that analysis, we thought that roughly 2/3 of the enterprise value could be attributable to robotaxis. And it's because this is a business that will have recurring revenues, and it will also have margins, we think, that are much higher than the base vehicle business.
Yeah. But so 2027, Larry, do you think, what's your thoughts on their price target for 2027? So that's like over 10 times. And we're talking middle 2024 now, so in 3 years.
Yeah, I think that right now the share price is beginning to reflect Robotaxi, a small proportion of the share price. If I were to guess, is somewhere between a share price of 150 and the current price, which is, in the 180 range. So we're looking at about 18% of the share price, 15 to 18% of the share price. And I say that's an extremely small value, extremely low value for FSD. So the market has recognized that FSD is coming. The market have given it some credence and placed a small value on it. It's like an option into that future. What we're going to see as FSD improves and as these proof points are reached, we're going to see that premium on top of the value of the car company and the energy company. We're going to see it go up. Now, we haven't seen any pricing in the share price for Optimus, and that's a different subject. But of FSD, or let's say of autonomy, we're going to see that increase. And there are multiple components to the autonomy price. The one component is just the value of selling FSD. That is a very significant value and can account for this 15, 20% of the share price already. There's autonomy, and then there's licensing. So, there are multiple potential revenue streams from FSD. And I think we're going to see all of those revenue streams come in. I don't know that Tasha values all of those revenue streams. I think she focuses on Robotaxi and the vehicle separately. But the future is unknowable. These are guesstimates, and her guesstimate is probably better than mine. I like the Monte Carlo method. Many people don't understand it, but the Monte Carlo method is really, it is a statistical method of looking at probabilities. And so what they're giving us is that the probability in the kind of the center of their curve, of the distribution of the probabilities. But it gives you an idea of, what the probability swing is. And I like that very much.
So $2,000 per share at 2027 is actually center.
It is the center, yeah, because it does it does get very high and it does get very low. Yeah. So I don't remember offhand what the distribution was, but, people don't understand how the Monte Carlo works. So I had, Rob Mauer talk about how it's crazy that there's one line item in the spreadsheet that shows like $40,000 or something value, and there's another line that shows zero value for the. It doesn't understand that's the distribution, and he's choosing one point in the distribution. That's crazy. But I think I do think that they have a really good methodology. And I think over time it's becoming more and more, it's getting closer and closer to a reality.
Okay, so we're just guessing. Okay, so I absolutely love that. I do think probabilities is the right way to do it because, like you said, there's so many criteria you cannot predict. You can't predict whether or not a competitor comes out, right? That could be it. What happens if there's a two-person race?
Yeah,
what if it takes
many futures?
Right, many futures. So tell me what you think might happen on August 8th when they just announce it. What's going to happen to the stock, and then what happens when they say there's an actual pilot? Let's say January next year. We're gonna launch it in Texas or Florida. We're gonna do our own pilot in a city. Any bumps there? Like
you're not
were they
like
actually showing?
You're not
showing
gonna
price.
Like yeah, sorry.
Yeah, they're gonna show price. They're gonna show actual business model. Go ahead. Yeah, nothing's gonna happen now. I can say it. Yeah.
You're not gonna like what I'm gonna tell you about August 8th. Is what I'm saying.
I'm already expecting nothing's gonna happen.
I think the share price is going to actually dip as a result. There hasn't been a Tesla event that hasn't resulted in a dip in the price because
builds up. Yeah.
People don't understand what, although I have to say, his last shareholder call was outstanding. He spoke.
Yes.
He didn't speak down to people. He just, he laid it out. He laid it out extremely well. I love that call. If he could do that at the Autonomy Day, that would be really good.
That'll be good. Okay. Thank you so much, Larry. Follow him on X at Tesla Larry. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.